It happened at 2 minutes to midnight. On February 3rd, 2026, while London slept, a single dispatch was released from Buckingham Palace that shattered decades of royal protocol. There was no fanfare, no televised address, just a meticulously worded legal statement that confirmed what insiders had only whispered about in dark corners of the pubs in Windsor. Prince William had been named the sole beneficiary of a secret inheritance, a massive fortified estate that, according to public records, did not legally exist. For years, we've watched the visible transfer of power, the titles, the castles, the crown itself. But what happened this week wasn't about the ceremonial monarchy. It was about the shadow crown. We are talking about the Cedar Estate, a property so secretive that its boundaries were omitted from modern maps. But here is the shocking twist. It wasn't just one house. As the days unfolded, it became clear that the late Queen Elizabeth II had executed a master plan from beyond the grave, handing William the keys to a vast, hidden portfolio of assets designed to make him untouchable. But where there is a will, there is a war. While William was receiving the keys, Queen Camilla and her son, Tom Parker Bowles, were reportedly scrambling their legal teams. They had plans for these lands, plans that involved luxury hotels, high-end organic brands, and millions in profit. What followed was a silent, brutal chess match between the future king and the current queen consort. And the most chilling part, Queen Elizabeth saw it all coming. To understand the magnitude of this inheritance, you have to understand what the Cedar Estate actually is. Nestled deep within the Chiltern Hills on the border of Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, this isn't just a country home. It is a fortress. Originally purchased by King George VI in 1944, right in the heat of the Second World War, it was designed as a doomsday refuge. It features emergency bunkers, underground passageways that stretch for miles, and a perimeter protected by dense, centuries-old cedar groves that block any view from the road. For 80 years, this place was a ghost. It appeared on no royal asset lists. It was part of a sealed covenant trust executed by Queen Elizabeth II in 2020. When the clock struck midnight on February 3rd, the ownership passed exclusively to William, not to the Crown Estate, not to the Duchy of Cornwall, to William, the man. But why keep it so secret? The answer lies in the South Vault. According to leaked briefing notes, the estate houses the raw, unfiltered memory of the monarchy. We aren't talking about nice oil paintings. We are talking about 186 oak chests containing personal war correspondence, 14 sealed audio recordings of Queen Elizabeth in private dialogue with leaders like Winston Churchill and Nelson Mandela, and intelligence reports that have never been declassified. One archivist described it as the architecture of royal memory. Here is the fascinating detail that the media missed. William didn't just inherit this, he was trained for it. Sources say that between 2017 and 2021, William spent countless weekends here with his grandmother. While the world thought he was resting, he was actually working in the archives, cataloging naval dispatches and repairing moisture control systems. It wasn't a gift, it was a job. The Queen wrote in a handwritten note found in the trust, "He will inherit more than the crown. He will inherit the silence that preserved it." This was the Queen's first strike. She knew that information is power. By giving William the archives, she gave him the leverage to protect the family's history from anyone who might want to twist it or sell it. And as we were about to find out, there were people very close to the throne who were ready to sell anything not nailed down. The reveal of the Cedar Estate was just the first domino. While the public was reeling from that news, a second battle was erupting over a property known as Northacre Hall. This 1,200-acre heritage property hidden between Wiltshire and Berkshire is a stunning piece of land with agricultural income and staggering commercial potential. And that potential had not gone unnoticed by Queen Camilla's inner circle. Reports indicate that beginning in late 2024, Camilla and her son, Tom Parker Bowles, had quietly set their sights on Northacre. Tom, a food writer and critic, allegedly saw an enormous opportunity. Leaked memos reviewed by insiders suggest plans were drawn up to convert the estate into a sanctuary of modern royal service. Let's be real about what that means. The plans included a Michelin-grade tasting restaurant in the Old Hunting Lodge, a Royal Wild brand of artisanal foods featuring cedar-aged cheese and honey, and exclusive literary salons. It was, in essence, the goopification of the royal family. A leaked briefing note from October 2025 showed that Tom's legal team had even evaluated whether they could use public heritage laws to force the estate open for cultural reclassification, effectively wresting control away from the private royal holdings. Camilla reportedly hosted a private reception near Henley-on-Thames, inviting heritage donors and food critics to float this public-private stewardship model. It was a soft launch for a takeover. They calculated the licensing rights alone at over £48 million across 10 years. This wasn't sentimental. This was business. They wanted to position Tom as a royal cultural steward, giving him economic autonomy using the monarchy's assets. But the Queen was always 3 moves ahead. Documents dated September 8th, 2022, mere weeks before her passing, revealed she had reclassified Northacre Hall from a shared asset to a personal sovereign holding. In a notarized page marked Appendix R3, she wrote, "Let Northacre remain with the child who bears the burden of our future. Let it be sanctuary, not shelter." When the sealed directive was opened in late January 2026, the Parker Bowles business plan collapsed instantly. One courtier described it perfectly. Camilla believed she had soft-bought the estate via influence, but the Queen outmaneuvered her from the grave. William didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply activated the trust, installed a new security rotation from his old Sandhurst circle, and visited the property privately with Catherine. The for sale sign was taken down before it was ever officially put up. If Northacre was about money, the battle for Clarence Hill was about the soul of the family. This estate, nestled 4 miles from any major road in the Chilterns, was purchased in 1947 by King George VI as an off-book reserve. It was never rented, never mortgaged, and never altered. It was the break glass in case of emergency property. The codicil in the Queen's will regarding Clarence Hill was explicit. She declared, "To my grandson, William, I entrust Clarence Hill. Free of encumbrance, free of shadow. This land is a covenant, not a commodity." Why the heavy language? Insiders believe the Queen had grown terrified of the moral volatility surrounding the family, specifically the scandals of Prince Andrew and the media circus around Prince Harry. She wanted one place that was immune to scandal, a place that could never be leveraged for bailouts or Netflix documentaries. But not everyone sees sacred ground when they look at a forest. Some just see timber. Upon learning of the transfer, Camilla allegedly summoned her legal team to Highgrove. Tom Parker Bowles had recently lost a multi-million-pound publishing contract due to a conflict of interest involving the royal crest, and they were looking for a rebound. Internal emails leaked to the press revealed that Camilla viewed Clarence Hill as a generational organic brand. They drafted a proposal under a new company, Hill and Crown Limited. The pitch rebrand the estate as a center for regenerative luxury. They wanted to launch a Prince of Green Britain campaign with Tom as the face of it. They even had mock-ups of corporate logos airbrushed over the estate's Edwardian facade. It was a direct commercialization of the Queen's most private legacy. Then came the leak. On January 28th, a whistleblower forwarded the Hill and Crown pitch deck to the Lord Chancellor. The backlash was instantaneous, but the real fireworks happened behind closed doors. William, usually calm, reportedly confronted Camilla at Windsor during a private lunch intended to honor Catherine's recovery. Sources say William's words were brief but devastating. "Clarence Hill does not exist to be bottled, branded, or sold. It is the last sanctuary of my grandmother's soul, and I will protect it like I protect my wife and children." Camilla reportedly left the meal without finishing. Within 48 hours, Hill and Crown Limited was dissolved. Tom Parker Bowles cited stress-related fatigue and vanished from the public eye. William had drawn a line in the soil that even the Queen Consort dared not cross. You would think that after 2 defeats, the commercial alliance would back down. But in the high-stakes world of royal assets, you don't stop until you run out of lawyers. The conflict shifted north to Greystone Downs, the Queen's privately held retreat in Northumberland. This place is a conservationist's dream: 400 acres of protected woodland, a Tudor hunting lodge, and a private stone chapel. To William, it represented the Queen's love for the wild. To Camilla and Tom, it represented an £80 million opportunity. Documents recovered from a former financial aide revealed a plan to turn Greystone Downs into a Windsor sanctuary. We are talking about £5,000 a night eco-lodges. They wanted to turn the stables, which once held the Queen's prized fell ponies, into a wellness vineyard spa. They even planned to repurpose the historic chapel as a mindfulness retreat center. The audacity of turning a place of royal worship into a paid meditation hall is staggering. Camilla's strategy here was subtler. She instructed her legal liaison to probe the will's wording, looking for any loophole that would allow for shared custodianship based on heritage laws. If they could classify it as a cultural trust, they could force a board of directors on William, effectively neutralizing his control. William learned of this through Princess Anne, the family's ultimate enforcer. Anne intercepted a confidential email and delivered a chilling warning. She's not challenging the crown, she's challenging mother's ethics. But again, the Queen had foreseen this. The sealed codicil for Greystone Downs contained a poison pill clause. It specifically barred any material transformation, commercial conversion, or brand exploitation without the express approval of the primary heir. It was a legal dead end written in 2021. When Camilla realized she was boxed in, the reaction was visceral. A footman reported that she tore open the correspondence, read the clause, and muttered, "Even in death, she leaves me caged." William's victory lap was silent, but public. On February 5th, he took Catherine and the children to Greystone Downs. Cameras caught them walking the edge of the frozen lake at sunset. No press releases, no interviews. Just the future king showing the world that this land belonged to the family, not the firm. By this point, the tension inside the palace was toxic. But the most dangerous battle was yet to come. It centered on Green Heath, a sprawling 500-acre woodland bordering a historic Roman road. Unlike the other estates, this one came with a massive cash reserve, a £37 million private trust for maintenance. Camilla wanted it badly. Sources say she had promised Tom that she would secure royal endorsement for a culinary wellness center on the land, backed by investors from Dubai and a French spa conglomerate. They were already drafting the PR campaign tying the project to healing the nation's soul. But they moved too slow. On January 30th, Princess Anne executed the transfer of Green Heath to William, backdated to December. The estate was locked down. This is where things got ugly. Realizing she had lost the asset, Camilla allegedly went nuclear. She summoned her lawyers and floated a legal review. The premise to question the late Queen's mental clarity at the time of the deed signing. The implication was that Elizabeth II was undue influenced by William and Catherine in her final years. Let that sink in. The Queen consort was reportedly willing to tarnish the memory of Queen Elizabeth II, suggesting she was senile or manipulated just to get her hands on a piece of real estate. This was treason in everything but name. The backlash was immediate. King Charles, who had been trying to stay out of the fray, issued a stark private warning. Any attempt to tarnish the Queen's will shall be treated as sedition against the Crown's memory. The threat of a public legal battle that would drag the late Queen's mental state through the mud was too much, even for Camilla's supporters. She backed down. On February 3rd, William arrived at Green Heath. He signed the charter declaring the estate permanently closed to commercial interests. Witnesses reported a Rolls-Royce parking at the edge of the estate during the signing. Camilla stepped out wearing dark glasses. She didn't approach. She didn't speak. She just watched from a distance as William signed away her son's business plan. It was the final surrender. The dust was settling, but there was one final revelation: Oakbridge Estate. This wasn't about strategy or money. This was about the heart. Oakbridge was the Queen's hearth, her emotional retreat during the darkest days of her reign. It holds the ruins of a Tudor chapel and the forests where she walked with her father, King George VI. Camilla and Tom made one last desperate play. They didn't contest the will directly. Instead, they tried to use the public purse argument. They claimed that because Oakbridge had historically used some public funds for restoration, it should be a shared asset, not a private inheritance. If they could prove this, they could force a liquidation or a buyout. It was a clever trap. But William was ready. He ordered a forensic audit of every log, receipt, and ledger dating back to 1953. The findings were conclusive. The Queen had paid for every slate on the roof, every stone in the wall, and every mile of fencing out of her own private pocket. There was not a single penny of taxpayer money in Oakbridge. The estate was pure. It was hers, and now it was his. One of the Queen's final journal entries found at Oakbridge reportedly read, "The future lies in steady hands." She wasn't talking about Charles. She was talking about William. But the story didn't end with the signing of deeds. In the 48 hours following the victory at Green Heath, a phenomenon known inside the palace as the silent purge began. While the media was distracted by the release of the estate names, William was quietly restructuring the human infrastructure of the monarchy. Reports from the Lord Chamberlain's office suggest that 7 senior aides, all of whom had been instrumental in facilitating Tom Parker Bowles's access to the Royal Wild Project, were abruptly reassigned to non-strategic roles in remote duchy offices. It was a bloodless coup. William didn't fire them. He simply moved them out of the blast radius. Simultaneously, financial ripples hit the Parker Bowles camp. With the collapse of the Hill and Crown and Stag Crown hospitality ventures, auditors reportedly flagged Tom's associated holding companies for speculative overreach. Without the royal assets to back his loans, the financing for his proposed luxury chain evaporated overnight. One insider noted, "They bet the farm before they owned the deed. Now the bank is calling." But perhaps the most chilling detail surfaced on the morning of February 6th. Princess Catherine was seen leaving the Cedar Estate archives carrying a single slim black binder known as Box 19. Rumor has it this specific file contains the late Queen's personal veto list, a catalog of commercial conflicts of interest regarding extended family members that she had documented but never acted upon. By retrieving it, Catherine signaled that the Wales family wasn't just playing defense anymore. They now hold the leverage to shut down any future commercial schemes before they even leave the drawing board. The dust has settled, but the hierarchy has shifted permanently. Queen Elizabeth II didn't just leave William a collection of houses. She left him a fully operational shadow government. By gifting him the Cedar Estate, Northacre, Clarence,